welcome back to Learn Economia. Today we are going to discuss something called types of unemployment. Let's start our lecture on types of unemployment. Here, moving to the roadmap of today's lecture, we'll be starting with the introduction, then we will see the meaning of unemployment, and finally we will be looking onto the types of unemployment, and then we will conclude the session. Okay, so we can find that whenever there is unemployment, this is identified to be a pervasive issue because this is a problem. You cannot consider it as something great. It's a problem. It's a menace that exists in the economy. So what happens when there is unemployment? People would be ready to do work. People might be able to do work. They might be healthy. They might be fit mentally to do work. But the problem here is that no job is available for people. So there is no opportunity to do work. That is what is unemployment, right? So for the same reason, this problem is so crucial for policymakers, for economists, as well as for the general public. Why? This is crucial for policymakers. Policymakers might be coming with new policies to reduce unemployment. That will be something good for the economy. And coming to economists, what they do is that they might be sometimes doing a trend analysis regarding the presence of unemployment in the economy over a period of time, and they will be suggesting some recommendations to the policymakers so that policymakers can implement these recommendations in the form of policy so that again unemployment could be reduced. Why we have to be so conscious about unemployment? Because it gives us a lot of problems. It will create financial hardship to the person who experiences unemployment. It might be creating some psychological distress and financial dependence for the person who is experiencing unemployment. Not only that, it will be creating so much of implications for the entire economy. It will be affecting savings, it will be affecting investment, it will be affecting income, it will be affecting growth, and so on. Okay, so understanding unemployment is very, very important. Now, taking you to the meaning of unemployment. So what I told you is that the person would be ready to work. The person would be ready to work. That means the person is willing to work. And the person is also able to work. Able to work. He might be mentally fit, he might be physically fit, and so on. And he might be looking for work. The person would be searching for work. Okay, so these things happen together. But the problem is that no work is available to the person. So this is a serious issue. So you need to actually distinguish the person who is actually unemployed from the persons who are retired, from a student who would be studying, from a parent who would be staying at home because the parent preferred to teach his or her child at home by dedicating so much of time to the student or the child at home. So that means somebody might not be seeking work, somebody might not be ready to do work outside. So this is something which you cannot count as unemployment. Unemployment means you are ready to work, able to work, and looking for work, but you are not getting work. You're deliberately staying out of the labor market, that is not unemployment. Okay. So here, one thing that you have to understand is the share of labor force that is unemployed. So whenever you look at the share of labor force that is unemployed, what are you saying? You're counting the unemployment rate. Unemployment rate. This is what you're looking at. So why unemployment rate is very, very important. So you need to understand the prevailing unemployment rate because that will show the health of the economy. So unemployment rate is an indicator of health of an economy. If unemployment rate is more, what is happening to the health of the economy? Means that the health of the economy is coming down, right? Isn't it? Because you are not utilizing the capacity and caliber of the persons that you're having. So that will definitely create a question in front of development, isn't it? So now you know what is the meaning of unemployment. Now we can go to the types of unemployment. Before that, I'll tell you why we have to look onto the different types of unemployment. So whenever we say unemployment, now you know people are ready to do work, willing to do work, but the problem is that no job is available, isn't it? They are searching for work, but no work. But understand that this is not a monolithic phenomenon because it has got multiple causes. multiple causes. Now we have to understand what is the different causes leading to unemployment. Why that is important? Because every cause leading to unemployment will be creating some set of implications, and the implications of one kind of unemployment might be different from some other kinds of unemployment. So diagnosing the correct type of unemployment that is prevailing in the economy is very important. Why? Because that will be helping us to devise proper solutions. So whenever you have a disease, what you do? You treat that disease, right? So you should know the reason for the disease first. So you treat the reason, you treat the causes. So the disease, you will be able to come out of the disease. If you have one disease and if you're treating for some other diseases, what happens? If you're having one disease and you're taking medicines for some other disease, will it be effective? Not at all. So the similar kind of analogy can be taken here, and it could be used here to understand the effectiveness of realizing the correct type of unemployment, the correct cause leading to unemployment, to have proper solutions. Fine. Now, the first type of unemployment that we are having here is called disguised unemployment. I'll tell you what is disguised unemployment through an example. So let's have a family farm. We are having a family farm. So just assume that this family farm is a small sized farm. The size is 2 cents. Now assume that the family is having 4 members. It's a 4-member family. 4 members. These are A, B, C and D. So these are the 4 people, 4 adult people in the family. Now we have to assume that all these 4 people are working in this 2 cents family farm from morning till evening. So when all these 4 people are engaged in family farm from morning till evening, they could produce 10 kg output. The total quantity of output that is produced in this family farm when all the 4 people are engaged is 10 kg. Now I'm asking a question. Do you actually think that you need the presence of all these 4 people to produce this 10 kg? Or do you think that even if you remove some people from this small space of family farm which has got only a space of 2 cents, that will not affect the total output? Actually, even if you remove some people from this occupation, that will not affect the total output. 10 kg will remain as 10 kg. So what is happening? You could find that some people are experiencing something called a hidden unemployment. Hidden unemployment. So, or else you can see that some people are underemployed. So their full capacity is not utilized, isn't it? So if you remove some people, what happens is that whoever is existing in this family farm, he or she will be putting his full effort there. So you can eliminate underemployment, or you will be coming out of hidden unemployment scenario. So discussed unemployment is so common in agriculture sector, unorganized sectors, etc. So here what happens is that the marginal productivity of labor in this instance is equal to 0. Why? What is marginal productivity of labor here? The marginal product or marginal productivity of labor will measure the additional contribution that is made to output when an extra labor is added, isn't it? So here, even if you add one more person to the agricultural land, it will not be changing the total output. 10 kg will remain as 10 kg. So that is why you are saying that the marginal productivity of labor in the context of discussed unemployment is 0. Fine. Now, taking you to the next type of unemployment, this is called seasonal unemployment. What happens is that in certain seasons, some people will be unemployed. So just take the case of a farmer. So this farmer will be very busy during certain periods of year. For example, during the time of harvest, this person will be very busy. During the time of sowing, this person will be very busy. And in between, he would be engaging in irrigation, he would be engaging in plucking the weeds from the land, he might be engaging in spraying fertilizers. But mostly, what is happening to the period between sowing and harvesting? So these are periods of unemployment to the farmer. The farmer will remain as unemployed, isn't it? So these type of unemployment, like seasonal unemployment, which happens during a particular period of an year, is predictable, because you know that as far as this particular crop is concerned, this is the harvesting time, this is the sowing time, and in between the farmer would be like more or less unemployed. So this mainly happens in the case of agricultural laborers. And also you can find this type of unemployment in certain other factory based occupation. For example, talk about cracker making factories. Cracker making factories. So why I was taking cracker making factories here, I'll tell you. So when are we using crackers? During the time of festivals. So during the time of festivals, the demand for crackers will be very high. And for the same reason, these factories will be employing more people, because they need more crackers to be made in the factories, right? So they will employ more people. And once the festival season is over, what the factory will be doing is that they will be laying off the extra workers. They will say that, oh yes, the festival season is now over, and now we do not need you to be in the workplace. We do not want more products to be produced, because the demand for crackers is very less during off season. So we are forced to make you out of the work. So what will happen to these people? These people will remain unemployed. Fine. So again, yet another example of seasonal unemployment. Now I'll tell you something called voluntary unemployment. What happens here is that you deliberately choose not to work at the prevailing wage rate. So here what happens is that this happens due to many reasons. Many reasons. So you deliberately choose not to work. This is a cause. Okay. So one reason might be reservation wage. So you might be having a certain minimum wage in your mind, and you are telling to yourself that I will not be ready to do work if jobs are available at a wage which is lesser than the wage that I'm keeping in my mind. The wage that you keep in your mind as the minimum acceptable wage, and this is called reservation wage. So if the wage that is prevailing in the market wage, if the market wage is less than reservation wage, what will happen? You prefer not to work. So here you will not go for work. You will not go for work. So that means what will happen? You are unemployed. Sometimes what happens is that you might be preferring leisure. So you think that why should I go and work? Because I am a person who always love to travel. I'm a person who always love to watch movies and spend my time. So in that case, what happens? You want to spend your time on your leisure activities. Sometimes reading, sometimes watching movies, sometimes traveling, sometimes cooking, etc. So in this case, what happens? You prefer not to go out and work. Prefer not to go out and work. This is again some kind of decision that you are taking voluntarily. It's a deliberate voluntary decision that you are making. That is voluntary unemployment. Okay. Now, let's see what is called structural unemployment. So in this case, what happens is that something problematic situation. This is a problematic situation. I'll tell you through an example. Just assume that you are a graduate. You are a graduate in, let it be, economics. So you are a graduate in economics. So after getting graduation in economics, what you're doing is that you are searching for a job. You are looking at all the social networking sites. You are looking at newspapers. You are looking at all those medias to find some job. Okay. So you come across a lot of job call. But in all these cases, you could find is that job calls are for some other people. So job calls are asking for mainly law graduate, some literature graduate, some graduates in mathematics, and so on. You couldn't find a job post which is specifically meant for graduate in economics. So what is happening here? It talks about a mismatch. It talks about a mismatch. And what is this mismatch? And how is this mismatch coming? This is a mismatch that happens between the jobs that are already available in the market and the skills that you are having. You have some skills. I'm not saying that you are not skilled. You are skilled. But the skill that you are having is not demanded by the economy. The economy is demanding some other sets of skills. Okay. So you lack some particular education. You lack some particular education or training. I'm not saying that you are completely lacking education or training. But coming to some specific cases, what happens? You lack something. So you are not having a qualification in law. The job calls are actually all about looking at law graduates. So you are not a person who has qualification in law. You are not trained in law. You are not having education in law. So in that particular specific setting, what happens is that you are not qualified to be called for these kind of jobs, isn't it? So it's a mismatch scenario. So we require some significant policy intervention during these instances, because this happens due to the structural changes which happen in the economy. Fine. Now, let's see what is called cyclical unemployment here. So to understand this, you have to have something called business cycle. So you know, in business cycle, you do have a topmost point called boom, a bottommost point here called depression. So from boom to depression, what is it? So this movement, you in this phase, you have a recession. And once there is depression, doesn't mean that you will be always be in depression. So the government might be taking some policies to make the economy recover. So it's called recovery. So you're having 4 different phases: boom, recession, depression, and recovery. So out of these 4 phases, whenever we talk about economic downturns, we have to mention these 2 phases: recession, and which one? The extreme case, depression. Okay. So during these phases, what happens? Demand will be less in the economy. We can find that during these phases, there are problems in the economy like low investment. Investment will be very less. People will have low savings. People will be having low income. People might be losing job. Many factories might be sending people out of work. So the same thing happened in 1930s during depression. The same thing happened during 2008 during the financial crisis, etc. So what happened if your income is very less? If your income is less, what happens to the demand? Your demand will also be low, because without income, how can you demand things? Demand would also come down. So if there is less demand, why should the factories produce more? So they will lay off the workers because the demand for their product is low. So they will send their workers, isn't it? They will send their workers from job. They will fire. They will ensure that only very less number of workers are there in the factories. Now what happens? This will create a problematic scenario. So this type of unemployment that happens during the economic downturns like recession, depression, etc., mostly found in capitalist economies. You might be knowing that in 2008, it was in US economy that we could have the crisis. The financial crisis of 2008 started in the US economy. Then it spread to other economies. Because now we are talking about a globalized scenario, a phase of globalization. If one problem happens in one particular area of the world, it will be soon spreading to the other areas. That is the power of globalization, isn't it? So these are mostly prevalent in capitalist economies, but it would be spreading to other economies as well, because its implication would be fast spreading with globalization. Okay. Now, let's see yet another type of unemployment. This is called technological unemployment. So what happens in this case is that when there is technological advancements like the improvements that you can have in the form of robotics. So robots might be replacing humans. Sometimes what happens is that AI, artificial intelligence, this would be replacing humans. So what happens? People will remain as unemployed. So World Bank is telling some kind of prediction. World Bank is making some kind of prediction regarding India. And World Bank is actually telling that every year there is a chance of some jobs to be replaced, and the World Bank is telling that there is a chance of 69% of existing jobs to be replaced due to automation. So what is it all about? Automation, we just talked about modernization, technological upgradation, etc. So this will make 69% of the workers to lose their jobs every year. So every year the existing 69% of people losing their jobs means, see the kind of power that technological advancement is creating in the employment sector, isn't it? So this is yet another kind of serious aspect that you have to understand. Why? Because you cannot say that since technology creates unemployment, we will say no to technology. That is impossible. We should be having upgraded advanced technology, modernized technology, but we should know how to ensure that technology is creating very lesser impact on employment market, isn't it? So we should ensure that technology is not creating unemployment. That is what you can do. This is the only thing that we can do. So this can be done with providing more training to people. This can be done with providing more education, skill formation, etc. to people. Now, the next kind of unemployment that we are having here is called frictional unemployment. So this is also called search unemployment. Why this is called search unemployment? I'll tell you. Search unemployment. Suppose you lost your old job. You lost a job on 1st of January 2025. So when you lost your old job on 1st of January 2025, what you would do? You will start looking for another job. Finally, you got a job. You got a new job. You got a new job. And when was you getting a new job? It was on 1st of April 2025. On 1st of April 2025. Now, in between these two periods, 1st of January 2025 and 1st of April 2025, what happened in between? In between, there is a period of unemployment. There is a period of unemployment. So, this might be a temporary phase, isn't it? You might be switching from one job to the next job, or else after education, you will be looking for your first job. So it will take a little time for you to get a job, isn't it? So this is actually an unavoidable part of a dynamic economy. You cannot actually avoid this particular phase. Sometimes the search period can last long if there is information asymmetry. Information asymmetry means if you are not having proper information regarding the job calls that are actually happening in the economy. If you're having less information regarding what is actually happening in the economy, definitely this will last longer. So some companies might be calling for post, but you might not be getting that information that the company is calling for post, different post. So you might be missing those posts, isn't it? Because you are not getting aware regarding these calls. This is again a cause of frictional unemployment. It's a short-term temporary kind of unemployment. It all would depend upon how long you're searching for a job. So that is why you call it a search unemployment. Okay. Now, let's consider some other type of unemployment. This is called chronic unemployment. Chronic unemployment means this is having a long-lasting kind of duration. The prevalence would be more. It will be persistent. The state of existence of this type of unemployment would be little longer compared to the other type of unemployment. So for the same reason, you have to consider it as a deep-seated problem out of the total problems that we will be having in the economy. So what happened? The person who is looking for a job would be struggling to find a job and the period of job search will be extended. Sometimes it might be going sometimes to more than 1 year, sometimes it might go to 6 months or more than that. So it can be due to several reasons. It could be due to sometimes the structural reasons in the economy, structural changes, the mismatch that happens between the qualification that you are having and the qualification that the economy is looking for. So we can talk about the mismatch scenario. And sometimes it could be due to the technological reasons. A new technology might have come, but you might not be knowing about the ways in which a new technology should be operated. So that will lead to again a chronic unemployment. So sometimes structural unemployment, sometimes technological unemployment, etc. Could be coming under the chronic unemployment situation depending upon the duration of the unemployment phase. Okay. Now there is something called vulnerable employment. What is this vulnerable employment? So vulnerable employment means today you are employed. Today you are employed. But what will happen to tomorrow? If you are asked what could be the scenario of tomorrow? Tomorrow you might be unemployed. You might be unemployed. For example, just assume that you are working in a textile shop, a small textile shop. So this small textile shop is having only two workers. One is you, and let it be another person called the person D. So these are the two persons working in this small textile shop. So today you went to the textile shop, you had your job, and tomorrow, sometimes when you go to the textile shop, the owner of the shop might say that actually the sales are so low in this textile shop, so I cannot accommodate two workers. I can accommodate only one worker since the sales are low. So you can stay at your home. I will keep my shop running with person D. So what will happen? You are sent out of your work. Sometimes your owner of the shop might not be telling you the reason. He might just say that go and sit at your home. I don't need your service. So you enter this job without proper job contract. You enter this job and you do your job without marking your attendance anywhere. You will not be doing punching and all whenever you enter job and exit the job. You will not be doing that. Sometimes the owner of the shop might be making you to work something more than what you are supposed to do. But this happened without making you to have an extra payment. So you will not be given an extra payment for these kind of things. So this is called vulnerable employment, not unemployment. So vulnerable employment means what? Today you are employed. That doesn't mean that tomorrow you will be employed. Tomorrow you might be losing the job. Okay. So if you look at the sustainable development goals that we are supposed to attain by 2030, India is also ensuring that we will be trying to end hunger, we will be trying our level best to put an end to poverty, etc., etc. But to ensure these things to happen, the first and primary thing that we have to understand is that we have to put a reduction to vulnerable employment scenarios in the country. Because in the informal sector, this is so common. Okay. So people, if they are not confident regarding their future work, that definitely that will be affecting their ability, caliber, potential, and capability. So for the same reason, we have to ensure that vulnerable employment scenarios are brought down through proper policies. So in short, we could understand that as far as unemployment is concerned, it's a multifaceted challenge with a lot of effects. It has got a lot of implications or ramifications, isn't it? So here what we need to have, first of all, we need to analyze the complexity that exists in the economy. We need to understand what is the actual problem that is leading to the unemployment. We need to understand the reason or the cause of unemployment. Then we have to talk about the responses. So for every type of unemployment, we have to go for tailor-made policy responses because every unemployment type is unique, right? So governments can play a very important role here. International organizations can play a very important role here. We need to have something called resilient economies, right? We should go for something called inclusive growth. We should go for something called development. We should go for something called inclusive development, inclusive growth, etc., by taking into consideration the impact of growth should reach everyone. The impact of development should reach everyone. So to make that possible, it's very important to understand the real cause of unemployment and to consider that cause to suggest policy responses. That is very important. So that is it all about today's topic of discussion. I hope you got the different types of unemployment, and next time when you're talking about unemployment, you will be mentioning the causes regarding different unemployment types as well. So making you to understand the ideas with more and more in-depth kind of understanding. So that is it all for today. So you can download the Learn Academy app where you will be getting the previous year question papers and answers, free study materials, live as well as recorded classes, and free MCQ based weekly tests. I'll be giving the link of the same in the description box. Also, you can join our free Telegram community, and for this as well, I'll be giving the link in the description box. That is it all for today. Thank you for watching, and you can like, share, and subscribe to our channel for more videos.